Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of the Unspoken Narrative. Today, we are going to tackle another conspiracy theory and lay some truth on it so all the conspiracy theories will fall away. We're going to talk about 9/11 today. 9/11 was significant in my own life. I was active duty Arizona National Guard when it happened. I was actually headed to the armory listening to Howard Stern back when it was cool and not some left-wing nut job show. Anyway, sorry, digress there. But I was headed in and listening to that as things played out on the radio there. And so I got to the armory, and it was pretty funny because we're basically went into immediate alert mode, and it was pretty crazy because they're telling us to arm up, prepare to defend the armory. Didn't have any ammo. Fortunately, I had a bunch of ammo in my own vehicle, so we armed up with that. Anyway, but I digress. 9/11, bunch of conspiracy theories about it. The first thing is, how did a bunch of people put an operation together like that? Um, Egocentrism, ethnocentrism, whatever you call it. It was a really good operation. I've been studying counterterrorism. It's going to sound ridiculous since I was a kid. Freshman year of high school, I wrote a paper on terrorism, counterterrorism. That's why I joined the Rangers because I knew they were involved in counterterrorism uh, when I first joined the Army. So I've done counterterrorism my whole life. So kind of somewhat of an expert on it. And I got done seeing what they did on 9/11. I went, they got us, good operation. I've always known we were unprepared in the United States for it. And I honestly wasn't too surprised. It was a good operation. We should have known since the taking of the Air France flight in Marseille that an operation like that, where they use planes as weapons, was going to occur. Tom Clancy wrote a book, uh, Debt of Honor, where that is used. It was released in '94. The flight in Marseille also took place, or the hijacking in Marseille also took place in '94. So don't know what came first, the cart or the horse, or what, but using a plane as a bomb has been around since the early '90s. Should have been alert to it, should have been ready for it, and we weren't. We got caught with our pants down. Big surprise, being sarcastic there. Anyway, what I'm going to cover real quick is why the towers fell, because there's a lot of confusion about that. It has to do with 85 tons of melted aircraft aluminum. Why Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon doesn't look like a regular plane crash. And that's pretty much it. Oh, excuse me. And then also why why Building 7, for some reason, people think that Building 7 was a controlled demolition. It magically uh, fell all by itself. You know, some wizard reached out his hand, or it was a controlled demolition. If you know anything about controlled demolition, a building that size takes about 30 days to rig for explosions, or for demolition, excuse me. And they would have seen all the people going in and out. So the idea of that is just absolutely ridiculous. I just saw something. It's one of the newscasters that left and started doing a podcast now. He used to be a big commentator on his own, but he was restricted by the media, and he just does his own podcast now. And I guess people buy into that. And there was some guy, oh, and 9/11 just magically fell by itself, but I'll get to that in a minute. It was pretty funny. I thought this was going to be a pretty long, funny to me, odd, I guess. I thought this was going to be a pretty long podcast, and I work off cue cards, and I kept rewriting this and rewriting this, and I got down. I just have 3 cue cards, gang. It's pretty interesting. The they're out of order. I apologize. Um, and they're missing. No, I'm kidding. Where'd my fuel flight card go? Oh, I see what I did. Anyway, the biggest thing. All right, there we go. Got my fuel card in front of me now. Because that's the thing. I don't know why they're saying that the steel couldn't have been melted by the burning fuel, because I just looked it up in line. Steel, I looked up all the different kinds of steel. 2800 degrees is what steel melts at. Jet fuel, any kind of jet fuel, or sorry, jet fuel burns at 4000 degrees. All right. The thing they discount, and then I don't understand why the 9/11 Commission missed this. You just ran these planes into the building, and I rounded down on this. You have flight, the two flights going into, you have flight 175 and flight 11. Flight 11 initially hits the Tower 1, the North Tower. And I did some bad math. And the reason I say bad math is I rounded down. I couldn't find out exactly how much aluminum is in any of these aircraft. It wouldn't say, hey, there's X number. And so I came up with 85 tons. You have 85 tons of aircraft aluminum. Now, aircraft aluminum is a compound, but aluminum is an element. So you burn off all the compounds out of there and it goes back to, and it's an element. You can't do too much to it and then it reverts back to being an element. So yes, you can make it slightly flame resistant. But the funny thing about it is aircraft aluminum melts at 1220 degrees. Remember, we got jet fuel burning at 4000 degrees. Then you have the aircraft, so it's going to ignite, and aircraft aluminum ignites at 10,000 or 1030 degrees. So it's on fire. The actual aluminum is on fire. Okay. And then it boils and turns to vapor at 4,478 degrees. So you have 85 tons of burning aluminum. And I remember seeing video of aluminum drip. I didn't know what it was at the time. I remember watching it on TV on 9/11, the burning aluminum dripping out of the tower before they collapsed. Okay, so you have the core of the building. Yeah, the airplane crashes in. Of course, the jet fuel takes off first. It ignites the aluminum, melts all the aluminum, and then pours it down the core of the building. So you have this flaming aluminum going down. All the jet fuel is going to burn off relatively quickly, but it's already ignited all the burning aluminum. Well, it's going to take the melting aluminum pouring down the core of the building. And the 9/11 Commission, once a plane hits a building, it's like the 9/11 Commission forgets the plane hit the building. You have the initial impact, you have the jet fuel's done building, and then they just go, that's the end of story. No, you still have the aluminum burning. So the aluminum's burning, and it is pouring down the center of the building, destroying all the steel in the core, and that's why the towers collapse. And I don't know why people can't wrap their heads around that. Okay, so there we have why the two towers collapsed. All right, and I guess I'm going to jump out of order here because I was going to sit. We'll do the towers collapse. And the reason I think in order of impact, the one tower collapses, tower 2 collapses before tower 1. I'm sorry if I get things out of order, but the reason the one tower collapsed before the other one is because they impacted lower, I think, something like that. I could be completely wrong. Please don't discount everything because I got one thing wrong, folks. Don't do that. Don't discount my argument. Anyway, all right, so we have why they collapsed. 85 tons, burning aircraft aluminum down the core, destroying all the steel because the aluminum burns almost 3 times or twice as hot as it takes to melt the steel. And I don't care if it's got it would have vaporized the insulation on that steel. Okay. Yes, they're designed to catch airplanes, the buildings. The other thing that was crazy in the research I did was and I thought it might have been a reason why Building 7 collapsed, World Trade Center 7 collapsed, was when each building collapsed, there was almost a 3 on the Richter scale earthquake when each building collapsed, but that actually doesn't have anything to do with it. when building 1 collapses, and I'll throw this up on you'll see the orientation of building 1, it actually hits building 7. And that's why building 7 collapses. Because building 7 had it's the receiving building for all the World Trade Center complex. And so it has this open bay there. Well, building 7 collapses and a whole bunch of debris slid over building, I think it's 4 or 6. No, building 6, I apologize. Over building 6. So building 6 gets crushed and a whole bunch of debris slides into building 7 and it collapses. Or it slides in there and it knocks the building. And that's why building 7 collapses. I don't see why people have such a hard time. It didn't get hit by a plane. No, it got hit by a freaking building. Why? It's like when you cut down a tree and it knocks over other trees. You knock down a building in downtown New York City, it hit other buildings. Why is that so hard to understand? Okay. The last thing. This one, I'm a pilot and I just had a student pilot's license. I have 40 hours, not a big deal. Okay, right at the cusp of getting my regular student's license. It's expensive to fly. I ran out of money. Okay. Flight 77 going into the Pentagon. This thing drove me nuts. So it was a missile, based on the 3 frames from a 12 frame a second security camera from, what was it, I don't know, a bank or a gate or something. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. Oh, it doesn't look like all the other plane crashes we saw. Well, the reason it doesn't look like all the other plane crashes you saw is because that plane, Flight 77, which is, I think, a Boeing 757, was going an estimated 530 miles an hour when it hit the ground. Okay? He had what's called firewalled the throttles. That means you push the control levers all the way forward to the firewall. All right? Back when they used to have the engines right in front of the cockpit, that protective piece was called the firewall because it kept the engine catching on fire away from the pilot, kind of. Planes were, if you look at some of those old planes, I've seen a lot of planes from World War II. Over in some of the European museums, they have original fighter aircraft over there. And you look at those and you can get really close to them, especially in the Belgian Museum of Imperial War Museum, I believe it's called. Could be completely wrong, but you can get right up close to the fighters. They have original fighter from World War One, and you're just, as a pilot, you're just amazed those things were even able to stay in the air. It's crazy, but anyway, their plane was going 530 miles an hour. When we see a plane crash, almost every other time they're during takeoff and landing. A passenger jet, when it's taking off, it's normally doing 130 miles an hour when it's taking off. It's called, I believe, the Y vector. And when it's landing, they're same speed. It's coming in between 90 miles per hour and 130 miles an hour. So it's not going very fast, and they like bounce and skid and stop. I remember when the Korean airplane landed short at LAX in, I think that was 2014 or 2015. I mean, that plane, it hit the runway, landed short of the runway on the, anyway, it landed short and then skidded onto the runway. I mean, that plane was going slow. It was landing. And and it stays intact. This thing hit 4 times landing speed when it hit the side of the Pentagon. And so it hit so hard, and everybody's like, where are the wings? Where's everything else? It hit so hard that the wings broke off and actually folded and followed the main body, the fuselage of the plane into the hole. The tail, when it hit the ground, the tail broke, folded behind the fuselage and folded in. Everybody's like, oh, that hole's too small for it to be a plane. Where's the impression of the wings? Well, gee whiz, gang, physics caused everything to go into that little hole as it broke off. You think I'm lying? Sorry, gang. I have seen, I don't know why they don't show this, but I've actually seen pictures of the 757 engine laying in the basement of the Pentagon. And I don't know why they haven't released that photo, because that would get all the conspiracy theorists to shut the hell up. It just drives me nuts. So anyway, 9/11, good operation by the bad guys. People need to share intelligence. You know, hey, we got a bunch of people from the Middle East that are learning how to fly planes. They don't seem to care about landing them. Gee, this kind of sounds like those guys in Marseille that wanted to fly the plane into the Eiffel Tower back in 1994. Maybe I should head this up. But you have all these people with these egos in the intelligence community that want to make a name for themselves, so they don't share stuff like that. Share the intelligence, okay? Especially when you have, I don't know, 22 people in 4 or 5 different groups around the United States doing the same thing. All right, share the freaking intelligence. All right, think it can happen to you. Don't look at some crazy thing that happens over in Marseille and go, gee, that could never happen here. Maybe the intelligence community needs to look at something like that and go, gee, that could happen here. The French counterterrorist unit, GIGN, was lucky enough. They had, look it up, it's called GIGN, and then you type in GIGN, Marseille, and they've got some great footage of those guys. Hats off to GIGN. They are actually a police unit. They're like a national SWAT team. They were trained by the British SAS, our own Delta Force, and the German GSG-9. And the German GSG-9 was a result of the Munich massacre back in 1972, which that affected me greatly because I was a little 8-year-old kid watching the Olympics, and those Black September terrorists screwed up my Olympics that I was watching as a kid, and that is what led me on my path in counter-terrorist field. Anyway, so conspiracies laid to rest. 85 tons of burning aircraft aluminum poured down the buildings, melting all them steel girders, causing Tower 1 and Tower 2 to collapse. Tower 1 collapses, slides into Building 7. Building 7 is structurally unsound, burns for several hours. In its structurally unsound state, fire suppression is out, and then it collapses. And hopefully that lays all your September 11th conspiracy theories to rest. And most of the time, all these conspiracy theories are just unscrupulous people trying to make a buck for themselves, like I covered on my JFK facts in episode 1, where I explained away all those conspiracy theories with the facts I presented. I hope you enjoyed that. Take a look at that. You guys have a great day, and I hope this allayed some of your fears and set some of your questions aside. You guys take care.